It's a brand new year, and we have lots of new games coming our way, and the Switch 2 as well. We don't have that release date yet. We do know it's coming, and we'll probably get that in April at that Direct. So I've decided to look through some of the games we know are coming this year, and of course my most anticipated. Now, there's plenty of games that are still coming that we don't know about, or we don't have their release dates. And we'll find out those as we go through the year, but this is just the ones we know are coming. I've got a couple of honourable mentions. Now, I did a video like this last year, and I did feature an awful lot of games in that. 2 were delayed, and hopefully this is going to give them a lot of extra polish, and this is only going to fill me with confidence, alright? The first is Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. The RPG came with no magic, no special skills, just a normal person who has accidentally gotten wrapped up in a war. So effectively, are we role-playing as the victim? The other game that got pushed back is Avowed. Now, Obsidian are one of my fave developers, and while this isn't Skyrim, it feels almost like they've approached that genre. Similar to Outer Worlds, felt like it had the inspiration of Fallout, but, in space. Despite the fact that it's very confusing what's happened to their Steam store recently, let's hope it's still coming and there's no problems there. The first game of the year that I want to talk about, Like a Dragon Pirate Yakuza. After Skull and Bones was less swashbuckle and more Titanic, the Yakuza devs decided it was time to sail the 7 seas themselves. With an amnesiac Majima at the helm, he already has the eye patch. It was a match made in heaven. A combat style with cutlasses and pistols, bringing back the more beat-em-up, or hack-em-up in this case, style of Zero and the earlier games featuring Kiri. Although Majima getting a madness gauge makes me so unreasonably happy, I can't lie. You'll be assembling a crew like you are Captain Jack Sparrow. Oh, in some kind of Persona-esque way, you can also increase bonds with the pirates you recruit by winning fights, singing, and of course, this is a pirate game, drinking. Well, we also get to upgrade our ship and have full customization of the experience. We also have a lot of seafaring combat that looks honestly so cool and reminds me of a game called Sea Dogs, which was branded as Pirates of the Caribbean, and honestly, that looked incredible, and this is a much more in-depth version because obviously it's been 20 years since that game came out. Look, we can get very involved in the amount of fighting, and look, we can even have boarding parties. Honestly, RGG Studios are goated, I swear. You couple in the exploration, and this is honestly incredible. Oh, did I mention the animals we can, recruit? And the fact that we can have what looks like a lion cub we can dress up? Look, I swear, game of the year, straight up. What, GTA? Honestly, what, Rockstar? Genius that they've made all of this, and they still let us visit Hawaii for all the usual Like a Dragon mini-games and side activities. We truly are getting the best of all the worlds possible here. And it's weird that a side game of the Yakuza series might actually end up being the pirate game we've been waiting for since, Assassin's Creed Black Flag. Nobody saw that coming. The Ubisoft execs are currently bashing their head against the wall about this one. Meanwhile, RGD are making it look, easy, to be honest with you. Monster Hunter Wilds. Now, you can't not be excited for this. If I had a nickel for every game set in a forbidden land, well, I'd be richer than Scrooge McDuck. As is traditional in Monster Hunter games, you play as, a hunter on an expedition to discover the Forbidden Lands, once thought uninhabitable, but after a boy was found nearby after being attacked, the Hunters Guild go off on the hunt. Convenient. For the monster, the White Wraith. And there's a new mount called a Secret, which kind of looks like a chocobo, having an emo phase. With various different biomes to explore, dynamic weather options, and of course the ability to team up with a friend in 4-player co-op. And this time it's supposed to be cross-platform fully. It's the perfect opportunity to get the squad together for another round of fun. 2 Point Museum. A bunch of British devs making a museum sim. Nope, the irony isn't lost on me. But with the classic 2 Point sense of humour, they seem to be skirting around any potential controversy. Now look, I absolutely love business sims. I played 2 Point Hospital early on, and I finally got around to playing 2 Point Campus last year, and the humour that they ground the games in, from those kooky classes all the way to the off-the-walls diseases at play, do seem right at home with history. And look, how they play with the museum, I look forward to seeing. Look, currently all I know is an Ice Age exhibit that if it gets too warm will thaw out and reveal a caveman, which, yep, I'm sold. No notes. I'm sold. But don't forget to manage the manpower, as you're going to be sending out your teams on an archaeological expeditions. A bit like Indiana Jones, except less guns and fistfights and less whips. I'm still sure this is a fun mechanic, though. Atomfall. Have you ever played Fallout and thought, you know what's missing here? A British sensibility. Well, you won't need to worry anymore. Set in the somehow still extremely picturesque Lake District. And this is actually an alternate history take. It's actually based on one of the worst nuclear accidents the UK has ever seen. It's unusual to see a game take place in Britain like this. And even from the trailers, seeing buildings with the authentic pre-Victorian nature actually makes me very excited, including, like, we got a traditional pub. Can this get any more exciting? We do not see many games that I can relate to in the locales, basically. That's my take here. The game has a large emphasis on survival, exploration. Combat will be a big part too, but the survival element makes sure to keep these limited. So you're going to have to scour for those ammunitions, basically. This is going to keep things extremely interesting as we explore and fight off feral beasts and cultists in the hope of discovering the mystery surrounding this quarantine. And, of course, the atom plant at the heart of all of this. The weird fact about this is, as far as we know, there isn't a traditional main quest. Just various events that we can follow up on that might help us solve these mysteries or help us escape the quarantine zone. Which is kind of an interesting approach that I hope is going to pay off significant dividends for them. Borderlands 4. Well, this game might have been announced to capitalise on the hype from the movie adaptation, which we're going to hope wasn't an omen of what's to come, but I'm sure it wasn't. We can expect more of what made Borderlands so fun. The looter-shooter madness, the quirky enemies, and obviously more claptrap.
I can't in good conscience let you continue in your foolhardy quest. You shall not pass!
I absolutely love the Borderlands series, and even Tiny Tina's Wonderlands was an absolute amazing game, one of my favourite games. We are playing with a bunch of new Vault Hunters this time, and are also leading a resistance against a dictator called the Timekeeper. Which, I'll admit, as names go, doesn't quite feel scary. More like that name of the annoying co-worker that always brings up when you were even a second late. But I mean, it's Borderlands. This is going to be so fun. On your own or with some friends, if you can get them together, that is. It's always a good, fun experience. Now for our favourite delivery driver simulator. Or as Kojima calls it, a strand game. Yes, Death Stranding 2 on the beach. Now, story-wise, we've got next to no idea. It's Kojima. God knows what we're getting. But Kojima effectively did throw out the original script and completely rewrote it following the COVID-19 pandemic, which really had a lot of parallels to the original game's world anyway, so I'm not surprising that he took a significant amount of inspiration going into the sequel. Considering it's a Kojima game, it's going to be surrounding so much secrecy, but I put money on it. Jeff Keighley is begging for it to be shown off properly at Summer Game Fest. Or begging for a spot in it. Probably both, to be fair. The HD 2D remakes of Dragon Quest 1 and 2, the biggest mouthful I'll have to say today. While Toriyama might no longer be with us, his legacy is still firmly with us, and realised in a newer style, with the Octopath Traveler-inspired 2.5D setting, and with the success of the remake of the third one, which I'll admit I thought was an odd choice, but I've since been told that the third game is canonically the first game, so I'm now with you. The first two are coming to us this year, and I'm a massive JRPG fan. I still enjoy the turn-based style. I can't get past it. I do. I just like them. It's okay. And for some reason, Dragon Quest has always passed me by. So these remakes are my kind of prime time to get into them. I look like I'm going to enjoy them. I just need the time, and this is the best excuse I'm going to get. The first three games all take place in a shared kind of timeline following the kind of events of one kingdom. And lots of time passes between them, but they share thematic similarities based on their prior games. And I actually love the new take on the art style, and Dragon Quest has always appealed to me, so now is my chance. The Fable series, featuring its unique British humour and developed by the iconic Lionhead Studios, full of bloated promises from the infamous Peter Molyneux, king of lofty ambitions and no idea how to make them actually happen. Lionhead Studios might no longer be with us, but this new game is being developed by Playground Studios, which may have only developed Forza games so far, and this is an action-adventure RPG, but they are a British development team. And that means that we can probably expect the dry sense of humour that was so integral to Fable to remain, And we have kind of seen that in the trailer so far, even including iconic British talent like Richard Ayoade. It feels very fitting. Now, while the overarching plot we aren't so sure of yet, we can't resist the alone action RPG, can we? Particularly as I have Game Pass, so technically free. It's like girl math, but gamer math. It's free if it's on Game Pass, right? Right? Ghost of Yotei, the second entry into the Ghost series, this time takes us to Hokkaido. We have a new protagonist, and she can dual-wield katanas. And immediately it's got double cool points because I love dual-wielding anything. Swords, lightsabers, guns, you name it. If I can dual-wield it, I will love it. I really loved the setting of Ghost of Tsushima, and while yes, you can argue it didn't have a lot of side content despite the absolutely gorgeous world around it, and the story was, to a degree, quite linear, with only one kind of significant choice involved. This time, the developers have promised we've got a bit more control over the narrative. Now, what this exactly means, and if it comes down to dialogue choices, or how our actions affected, or even some kind of proper morality meter, which I guess we kind of got in how we played, but never really had an effect on how we would treat it. So you chose more samurai approaches as opposed to the ways of the ninja or ghost techniques. Will be treated differently, or open or lose options as we go on. Hopefully, Sony will have a showcase very soon, and we will get to see all of this stuff and have a little bit more of an idea of not just a release date, but what the game is going to be like. Phantom Blade Zero. Now, Phantom Blade Zero is a new game coming from China, who seem to be killing it with game releases recently, with Black Myth Wukong last year as well. Now, the combat is largely hack and slash, but it gives heavy Soulsborne vibes, and I love a Soulsborne game. Soulsborne style games have a strong place in my heart. And while this one is giving me Sekiro vibes, which is my least favourite of the genre, not for the setting. I loved Sekiro's setting, I just couldn't get around the parrying. That parry mechanic almost killed me. I still find myself so interested here. And look, it might be the fact that this still looks very slick combat, isn't as parry intensive. Look, Soulsborne styles games have a strong place in my heart, and while this one is giving me Sekiro vibes, which was my least favourite of the genre, and not for the story-wise, and I actually really love the setting, it was the parry-intensive nature of the game. I just couldn't get behind it. It was difficult, and I didn't like it. I still find myself massively interested here. And there might be the fact this looks very slick combat. It isn't so parry-intensive, that we know of, and I would also say the combat style has a hack-and-slash element, but could actually be a very weird marrying of Sekiro and Ghost of Tsushima with that kind of stealth approach we've seen in the trailers. Also, it seems we have a time limit of 66 days, as we have been framed for a murder we did not commit. And while revived with a special kind of magic, that's the limit of the magic. So we have those 66 days to prove our innocence and make sure that our legacy isn't tainted. Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. Nintendo's biggest troll. This game was announced almost 8 years ago and got stuck in what seems like development hell, and look, it's finally coming out this year. And honestly, Metroid as a series is kind of always passed me by. I'm kind of hoping they release Prime 2 and 3 over the course of this year to help me get ready to pick it up. I got the first remaster. I kind of thought we'd have the other two last year, but, you know, they seem to be surprising me here. The combat here looks extremely fun, looks very similar to what we've seen, but still looks very fun. I'm excited to see more of Samus's adventures. I'm very convinced this is going to be on the Switch 2, though, or at least it will run better on the Switch 2. But I think we need to see those second and third ones to help bring in those new players. It's been like 18 years. It's a long time in gaming. It's a long time in general, to be fair. Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater. Now, well, sadly, this has nothing to do with Kojima this time, although the Metal Gear series seem to be firmly missing his influences since Konami split ways with Kojima for reasons that only make sense to Konami. They've yet to release another entry in the series, aside from Survive, which wasn't a massive success. While this game is a certified remake, and as far as we know it will just be improving graphics and quality of life adjustments, the story itself will remain largely the same. It's an origin story to Snake and the Metal Gear series in general. Look, I've only played 2 Sons of Liberty and 5 a little bit of it. So I'm no expert, although the fact they wish to keep effectively all the elements from Kojima, I find myself wondering if they'll ever create another mainline entry a la Metal Gear 6. And if they do, will they be able to match that love and passion from Kojima? Or will it just feel like a cash grab? Anyway, let's just enjoy this pretty game now. Pokemon Legends ZA. Look, I grew up on the Pokemon, like the vast majority of kids, honestly. This anime has been running 20-something years at this point. And while the Pokemon games, by and large, have been an extremely fun experience at the best of times, in recent years, that fun has kind of faded. Namely, for me, Scarlet and Violet. Look, I got those at launch. And I ended up feeling very let down by the glitches and the bugs. But earlier that same year, I found myself with a game that fulfilled the childhood desire for an open world-esque Pokemon game that I'd be able to explore and catch as I saw fit. And damn did Legends Arceus fill that for me. And it seemed Nintendo agreed that it was an amazing experience, and they decided that Legends should be a series now. And our second entry is ZA. Now, we could go down the rabbit hole of Pokemon Z, what it was, as back in the day. Most versions of Pokemon games had 3 versions, so they'd have the 2 versions that came on launch and a third kind of complete version, which kind of bundled all together. And Z was supposedly that for X and Y, but that's a whole other kettle of fish. That's a whole other day. Now, what legend we're going to be dealing with in ZA is yet to be seen, but this is another game I expect will launch on Switch 2. It maybe come onto Switch 2, but Switch 2 definitely on that. Maybe the original Switch. Who knows? Professor Layton and the New World of Steam. If you had a DS, you had a Professor Layton game, and if you say you didn't, you're lying. Everyone. I've got all of them. My uncle had them. My cousins had them. Everyone and their mother had this. The series followed the British archaeologist who, unlike Indiana Jones, gets by using his wits and solving puzzles. Except when he starts sword fighting. What is it with archaeologists being so good at fighting? What? Anyway, the games had you solving an overarching mystery, and in the process of a series of different smaller puzzles based on logic puzzles to sliding mazes. But look, don't worry if you're not very good at solving puzzles, you get to use hint coins, which will help you finally get to the bottom of the puzzles. Or you could Google it, but, where's the fun in that? And while the original ones used the stylus for an authentic style point-and-click, almost literal gameplay, it looks like we are now using the cursor. Or for the Switch 2, now we know that, maybe that's going to be one of the original uses for the mouse Joy-Con. Maybe this will have a chance to use that. Who knows? I don't know. Honestly, Level 5 are one of my favourite developers, and it's great to see Professor Layton back out of retirement for another adventure. Particularly sending him over to America for a fish-out-of-water experience. I'm honestly not sure how he will cope finding a good cup of tea over there, though. Clair Obscur Expedition 33. Now look, this is probably one of the games I'm most excited for on this list. This one has me absolutely hooked. This French developer has taken inspiration from the Final Fantasy and Persona series in this turn-based adventure. Now, that's 2 of my favourite series, being a major influence for the combat. Turn-based sounds fun, and the gameplay reveals I can certainly see elements in the UI that seem influenced by Persona. But the story looks incredible, and the world and graphics look, French kiss. In honour of the French developers, of course. The game will follow a group setting out to kill a being called the Paintress, who once a year will be painting a number in the sky, which slowly has been creeping down year on year. And everyone of that age dies. It's an interesting kind of villain. There's definitely something else happening here, and it's just the mystery of it. Why is this happening? And I can't wait to unravel all of that by playing the game. And let's not even talk about the fact they managed to bag a star-studded cast in here as well. Charlie Cox, or as you might know him, Daredevil. Andy Serkis, or as you might know him, every CGI character on our screens for the last 20 years or so now. And Ben Starr, the guy who seems to be trying to fight Troy Baker as the busiest man in video games. Elden Ring Nightreigh. Have you ever been in a round of Fortnite and thought to yourself, this is good, but what if it had a darker colour palette? Instead of fighting other players, you had to defeat creatures straight out of a Souls game. Well, boy, have I got good news for you. Considering the multiplayer elements of Souls games have always been present, and, well, from experience, it can be an absolute pain to jump in. One of the only good things I can say about Lord of the Fallen, the Souls series' annoying cousin, is the seamless multiplayer experience in the story. While FromSoft might not be going this route entirely, this multiplayer-focused experience might be the official answer to playing through the world together. Although this version of Limgrave is supposedly procedurally generated to a point, I imagine this is just kind of help us get more variety in runs, make them all feel a little bit more unique, and add replayability. Look, I loved Elden Ring, as long as no one talks to me about that final DLC boss. Curse you, Radahn. I hate you. One day I will defeat you. One day. I know I can anyway. And getting the chance to run around with friends. Look, I can't resist this. Of course I can't. No one can. If you know any Soulsborne fan that resists this, they're lying to you. Now, I know it can't be the most anticipated games of 2025. If it doesn't include GTA 6, a game so anticipated, other developers are scared to announce release dates in case it clashes. Which I kind of mean, it's fair play, to be honest. Honest though, I'd put money on this game coming out in September, kind of like GTA 5. Just as all the school kids have gone back to school, ready to pull that inevitable sickie to play this game all day. The same as their parents, if we are being truly honest. If Rockstar doesn't do like a mock-up sick note for social media posts, they're going to have really missed the trick here. Honestly, I swear to God. Now, we're going to be back in a modern version of Vice City and, of course, the surrounding state, which is a stand-in for the Florida in this universe. And I mean, Florida is ripe for parody. You know, GTA is known for it. It's going to be one hell of a ride. The main story has been speculated to be Bonnie and Clyde inspired, and for the first time in 3D history of GTA, we have a female playable protagonist, aside from potential GTA Online characters, that is. I can also imagine that we'll see a similar switching mechanic to GTA 5, but we've yet to see that. But Rockstar obviously know we don't need to see loads because, quite frankly,
shut up and take my money!
Considering we're still very early on in the year and we've got a whole new console in the Switch 2 coming this year, we'll likely see, number one, more games announced that are Switch 2 launch titles, as well as lots of other developers and publishers seem to be announcing their games much later now and much closer to those release date windows than in prior years. So I am very positive that in the next few months we're going to see a lot more games on offer that are going to be coming and joining us this year. But for now, I'm honestly reeling to get my hands on the games we've spoken about here. So guys, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know. Let me know if I missed one of the games you're most anticipated for. Let me know which one you're excited for, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.